Hey guys, so I wanted to show this real quick. This is the container that I put all of the poop from, or the waste from the roach enclosures when I clean them out. And it's just been sitting up for a while with some baby roaches in it that have now grown up a decent amount and kind of eaten each other because I haven't exactly fed this a whole lot. So they just ate whatever oats were left from the roach enclosures, as well as I did feed it a couple times, just not as often as the other roaches. And there are a whole lot of beetles in here as well. And I want to dump this out, but I still don't want to dump it out in the trash because there are living things in here like roaches and also the beetles and the lesser mealworms, which are the larval form of the beetles. Here, I just want to get everything off of this. There's still some beetles on it. I wanted to look for some of the roaches real quick, just but what I'm going to do is I guess I'm just going to dump this in with Charlie. I'll just dump it into Charlie's enclosure because I don't really know what else to do. So then, basically, I didn't want to do that originally because I knew I'd introduce all these beetles, but that's not really an issue. I don't think it'll be an issue anyway. There it is. But I'm alright putting roaches in there. The problem is I know if I put roaches in there, there's a good possibility that they can just get out, which is fine. In theory, they'll die if they're left out in the house. If they get out in the house, in theory, they'll just die from, well, it's pretty dry, and that's what's supposed to kill them, in theory. Generally, they can survive out in my room for a while, though, because it's pretty humid in here, and they have areas to squeeze into. But it's not really an issue. They don't hurt anything. And they don't get into food and stuff like that. Anyway. This is really bad to breathe this in, but... okay. I don't really see any other roaches, even though I'm sure there are. There's one. I'm sure there are more in here. And there were probably more before, but like I said, I'm sure they ate each other to survive, because they're metal that way. What I'm probably just going to do, so I'll take this down here. And I want to be able to use these for other things, but they have the beetles not only on them, but in them as well. So I'm just going to set them up here, so then the beetles will crawl out and go into the substrate, and then these will stay up here. And then I can use them for other stuff, I guess. There we go. Okay. So then there's this cool, like, there's some cool bits of leaves and stuff and different things. Man, you can see all that dust. I'm just going to throw that out into the enclosure as like botanicals and stuff, just because it looks cool. And then the isopods will eventually eat that or whatever. And then everything else I'm just going to bury. But it has a lot of the beetles and stuff. And that's alright. There are actually darkling beetles that live in here. Or not dark, what do you call them? You call them Mario beetles. There's a bunch of old food I put in here for the isopods. Anyway. And I see those every once in a while. Those are the same thing, essentially, just a whole lot bigger. So I'm just going to dig a pit right there, dump it in, and then cover it with dirt. And then it'll eventually turn to dirt as different stuff happens with soil and whatnot. So this gets to something that I want to talk about because I have experience with it. So I have 2 dubia roach enclosures. I have 1 Madagascar hissing cockroach enclosure, and I have 1 red runner roach enclosure. Then around my room, I have tons of isopods, and there's also worms as cleanup crew, and there's also springtails, and then there's also buffalo beetles. Buffalo beetles are in the same genus as mealworms or darkling beetles, or Mario beetles, which are superworm beetles. So they're just tiny, and they clean up any roaches that die. They kind of clear them out, as that one had been, because occasionally they die, but they don't mess with or attack the living ones, and they just leave their shells hollow like that, and they eat up dead ones. As you can see, that one's trying to get access to this dead one, and like that. But since I have these big colonies, I don't really pay attention to the dead things because I don't have time to pick it all out and stuff like that. So these beetles have also made their way into the iguana enclosure and the gecko enclosures because I've put in old stuff like this. This isn't going to be eaten by anything in here, but it will be eaten in isopods. So I'll put it in a gecko enclosure because there's tons of giant canyon isopods in there. However, sometimes there's the lesser mealworms or the buffalo beetles hiding in here, and they get into the enclosures. Completely fine. Here's the thing. Not everything is completely and utterly secure. The iguana cage isn't, as you can see here. There's this, and there's also just this door isn't airtight in any way. So isopods regularly get out of here. And then with the crested gecko enclosures, the isopods used to get in between the glass, so then whenever I opened it, they'd fall out onto the ground. So there's a bunch of isopods there. And you can see some of the old stuff from the roach enclosures that I threw into here. Not completely secure, and the beetles are tiny, so they might get out. And then some of the enclosures have roaches in them. I don't think, or I don't intentionally have any dubia roaches in any of the enclosures. That doesn't mean that there aren't any, because say when I feed the leopard gecko in this tank, the top is open, so the leopard gecko can't get out, but roaches can crawl out and get into my room, and that's a thing that happens, but I can't really do anything about it. And that's the main place that dubia roaches go that they might get out of. But I used to feed the crested geckos dubia roaches more regularly until I kind of depleted my colonies. And occasionally they would kind of get out into my room because not everything is completely and utterly airtight. It's just they're not that enclosures don't work like that. So my understanding was that these things would die because that's what I was told on the internet. This is not completely true. So the isopods, I can say from experience, if you have a dry house like mine, they will get out a lot and they will just die everywhere and you'll just have to sweep them up. And that is my experience with the isopods. The beetles are the same way. I see them, but I think it's fine. I'm pretty sure they die. I don't see them dead all around, but I assume they die eventually, and I'm not worried about them. And honestly, I don't see them very often. I don't think they get out very often, but at least I don't see them. I have always had my hissing cockroaches in an airtight enclosure. The only way that they have ever gotten out is because I have them in one of my gecko enclosures. You can see an adult male right there, and they breed. You can see one of the babies right there. So they breed in this enclosure, and occasionally when I would open it up, they would fall out, and I wouldn't realize it because they'd get up here in the enclosure. So they are in this enclosure and this one as well with the Madagascar giant day geckos. I kind of figured it would work well with them as well. So they live in both these enclosures, and that's the only time they've ever gotten out is when the babies escape from these enclosures because they do breed in here. Not a big problem. I found them in the dubia roach enclosures because they can climb plastic, which is why I've always had them in airtight enclosures, or like not airtight, like obviously they're screened here, but enclosures that they definitely cannot crawl out of because they crawl up to the top. Dubia roaches can't do that. I don't think I've had any problems with them escaping these tanks, these tubs. But now we're going to go onto the red runner roaches. I used to have the red runner roaches in one, like a tub like this, but I'm pretty sure they were getting out because I was finding them in my house, and I don't like that. So I moved them into this, except I'm still finding them in my house, and I no longer regularly feed them to any of my geckos because I also kind of depleted their colony, but now it's like completely revived, but there's no way they can get out of here, so I don't know how, and I think it's because they live in some of the enclosures and they breed and the babies escape, or the adults escape, and they kind of get into my house, and that is my working theory. But here's the thing, roaches live a long time. The dubia roaches, if they get out, they will die. I've found dead ones, but they will live for like a while because they live a long time, and if they have anything to eat at all, then they will live for a substantially long time, and they don't die very quickly in even low humidity environments without very much food. Like, they can go a long time without food, unlike the isopods, which die very quickly and a lot. So if these things get out into your house, I don't think they're going to be a problem because they don't really travel a whole lot, but and they're kind of like difficult to get to breed. Well, they're not difficult to get to breed, but like they're not going to breed in your house because they're not going to find each other, because they kind of just find one spot and then hide there until they kind of die. So not a huge problem. The red runner roaches, on the other hand, will go everywhere, and they'll climb places, and they will just go as far as possible, and you'll see them walking around, and it's very disturbing because I don't want roaches in my house that I don't know where they are. So I can't really do too much about them being in these two enclosures. I know that they live in here, and whenever I see them now, I either try to take them out and put them into the main colony, or I just like squish them because they're not that important to me. But they do live and breed in these enclosures, and I don't see them very often, so I don't know how big the population is. But in theory, they shouldn't be able to get out of here normally that I know of. The main culprit, I think, is this tub up here. So this is a gecko tub that I have that is temporary until I get an enclosure properly built, or some enclosures finished. And when I made it, I decided I'd add a bunch of roaches in, so I added some dubia roaches. Actually, you can see there is one right there. There's a dubia roach. Now there's actually a ton of red runner roaches in here as well. I didn't add hissing cockroaches because they can climb the thing, but they can get up to the top, and this lip is not airtight, so I think they can squeeze out of it. It's because they're so small, but they actually live, you'll probably see, whenever I move this out, they all go running. You can see there's a colony of them in the drainage layer of this tub. You can see all the poop and all the things, and those are red runner roaches. So when I take down this tub, I'm going to make sure that anything I move out of it, I make sure there won't be any red runner roaches, and then I will find all the red runner roaches, and I will put them back in the colony, or again, I'll just squish them because they're not that important to me, because I have a lot in this colony. There's a good lot. So anyway, I want to talk about that because keep your red runner roaches in airtight enclosures. So ultimately, that's what I was trying to get at. Keep your red runner roaches in enclosures like this, as well as your hissing cockroaches, obviously, because they will climb out of anything like this. But so will red runner roaches, and I don't think dubia roaches will, because that hasn't been a problem for me. And that has been my experience with it. Then isopods probably will as well. Not so much with these enclosures, more with my custom enclosures, but they don't really cause any problem. and neither to the buffalo beetles, really. So that has been my experience with the insects that I keep and how they inevitably get out into my house. So I hope this video was helpful in deciding whether or not you want to deal with this. And if it was, like this video down below. If you have any thoughts, put them in the comments, and please subscribe. Have a great day.